This episode of Kind of Funny Gamescast is brought to you by Mac Weldon. Mac Weldon believes in smart design, premium fabrics, and simple shopping. They got socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, sweatpants, and the most comfortable underwear my tush has ever had the pleasure of meeting. Most importantly, they're all about comfort. So if you don't like your first pair, you can keep it, and then they'll still refund you. No questions asked. Here's one of the coolest things. They have a line of silver underwear and shirts that are naturally antimicrobial. That's a fancy word that means it eliminates odor, so it'll probably help people. Like, I'm not going to name any names like Kevin or anything, but it'd probably help him. It's good for working out, going to work, going on dates. You know, I'm not really sure there's any situation they aren't great for, at least any situation that requires wearing underwear. You know, you feel me? Talking about sex. Go to MacWeldon.com and get 20% off using promo code GAMESCAST. What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever episode 110 of the Kind of Funny Gamescast.
We old.
We are old. We're really old.
You know, 4 episodes,
One
so
day.
2 anniversary then.
We'll be dead. Yeah, that doesn't actually check out perfectly.
Fucking shit.
Because we do things all weird. There's like E3. Because I was thinking about that actually recently. But there's
E3,
certain weeks where we do more than one.
Right.
We know whatever. Blah, 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 blah. I'm Tim Gettys, joined by one half the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller. Oh, you got that? Is that Patreon money?
That's that rent money.
Oh,
I gotta pay my rent.
You can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny. Colin is on duty.
On location.
Somewhere.
Down in LA. Today's the day we're recording the day he did the Rubin Report.
The Rubin Report.
That's been
yes.
announced. That's all
okay,
set. You can say
cool.
that.
Great. He's there. He's doing stuff. He's reporting on Rubens. I'm very excited about all of this.
That'd be awesome if the show was talking about Reuben sandwiches.
Yeah.
Or like, Paul
Just other
Rubens or
Rubens
whoever.
that he's a
Yeah,
big fan of.
Reuben from American Idol.
Joel Rubin, formerly of Funhouse.
No.
He was one of the Funhouse guys. I don't think you ever met him. He was like,
you made that up.
old
You made that up.
Funhouse. Inside Gaming. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
You excited for the Gamescast?
Hell yeah, I'm
I like
excited
talking
for the
to you. I like
Gamescast.
hanging out with
Yeah,
you.
I like this. I like how far we are from each
I'll
other.
tell you what, man. Like we talk about this all the time off camera. I love the different dynamics we all have, and the way we've been breaking up the morning show's been great because you get to do it with different people. And like Nick and I have a vibe, and you and I have a vibe, and stuff like that. But then to have I love P.S. I Love You because in general I like the show, but Colin and I have that rhythm. To actually do a video game podcast with you one-on-one is awesome because we don't get to ever do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we were supposed to have Steve Gaynor this whole episode, but a scheduling snafu. It's GDC. He joins us for topic 4, answers your questions.
So we did a Let's Play with
us.
you.
Yeah.
That will be live on a Wednesday.
I know. Kevin, let's make that next one. Let's do that. Wednesday's Tacoma, okay? Thanks, Kev.
So that'll be great. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
And then Steve Gaynor, Mr. Gone Home.
Mr. Gone Home, Mr. Tacoma. Mr. Bioshock 2, Minerva's
for the fourth
Den.
topic of this show.
Yeah.
This illustrious show.
This illustrious
Kind of
show.
Funny Gamescast.
Right.
Let's see, rigmarole, Kind of Funny Gamescast, each and every week, get together, talk about video games, all the things we love about them, and all that stuff, industry things, whatever. You can get it early at patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, or you can get it late at youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. A lot of people asking, when do you get it on time? Impossible feat.
You can't do it. There's no
you
thing.
You just can't do it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I'd like to give a shout out to you, the fans of the Kind of Funny Gamescast.
Oh, I thought you were
I think I'm P.S. I Love You, XOXO, right? I'm always like, #1 PlayStation podcast, right? And we talk about things there and the other, and I feel like we never talk and celebrate the fact that the Gamescast is so popular.
Always.
Because it just happened. I don't know if you've checked the Twitter that I just retweeted. Somebody tweeted at us, and he's like, P.S. I Love You, XOXO is the #1 gaming podcast on iTunes in Australia. And I was like, oh, that's cool. We beat Car Talk. And then you look down, and there's Gamescast at 8. Getting no one's mentioning that this thing's in the top 10 all the time, too.
People do. It's awesome. But again, thank you for supporting the show so much. And all the shows, the morning show is now available on podcast services, and that's doing super well.
Sure.
We're nailing it. Like we're
doing great in 2017.
We're charting.
We're charting is what they call?
Yeah, we charting.
Does the morning show chart?
The morning show is like crazy chart. Like,
what is it even under? What do we file it
under? The
iTunes
chart works in such a weird way where no one really understands it.
Great point.
But from my understanding, it works in that every day it is updated. So whenever a new episode comes out, like you'll notice, Gamescast is super high on Fridays.
Sure.
And then it drops off. P.S. I Love You, because it has that Tuesday. Most podcasts aren't coming out those other days.
Gotcha.
It gets that extra oomph, right? But guess what? Kind of Funny Morning Show That
It's
shit's
daily.
daily,
so
son.
fuck you, everybody.
Yeah, so it
what do we
stays there.
file under? Where do we even go? What's our category?
Games and hobbies.
Oh, we are games and hobbies. Oh,
Morning
okay.
shows, games and hobbies. Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I
Smart.
did that because guess what? Game Over Greggy show?
Yeah.
Guess what number it is on the top charts?
Of what are we filed under?
Comedy.
2,000.
136 was the last I checked.
We're a small show. The game.
136. But to be fair, a lot of other comedy podcasts that you'd imagine are way higher are like, all right, they're like 96. Like,
I mean,
cool.
again, all this is just dick measurement. I don't care about the ratings. I don't check the.
Oh, no.
I don't check the ratings. I'm just being clear.
I enjoy
we
it
care
'cause
about the
I'm
fact that you
interested.
enjoy the show and come back every week. I don't care.
Exactly.
If we have 20 people, if we have 20,000 people listen to the show, great either way. I don't care. We have more than 20,000.
But thank you very much for the support. You can go support the podcast by subscribing on your podcast service of choice for any of the shows, and we'll appreciate you for all of that.
I appreciate you no matter what. Doesn't even matter.
Exactly.
There it is. Look at that. Kind of funny morning
Where's
show.
it at right now?
Number 6.
Number 6.
Number 5, P.S. I Love You. As always in America, the reruns of Car Talk beating us. Number 1 in Games and Hobby. Car Talk, get the fuck out of the Games and Hobby section.
Let them stay. Yeah, someone's doing something illegal with the car talk. Now, also for like just kind of the sense of scale of podcasts and iTunes, Car Talk number 1 in Games and Hobbies. When you look at the overall charts, it's like number 56. So
come on, Car Talk reruns. You step it up. If you're going to beat us,
Car Talk.
This is like, and I'll do some Colin references here. This is like when you're in the NFL and you're like the Green Bay Packers are in the same division as the Chicago Bears. So I always want the Packers to lose. But once they win, I'm like, well, at least play all right in the playoffs so that, our division looks strong. So like the fact that Car Talk's the number 1 in our division and they're just getting clowned out by fucking Donnie and Marie's podcast, I assume.
Donnie and Marie.
Do they have a podcast? They have a podcast for sure. Everyone's got a podcast.
Yeah.
If they're clowning us out, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'd be clowned out by them. I'd be okay with that.
I bet we're clowning out Donnie and Marie big time.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm going to beat you to it in the comments. It took over 6 minutes for us to talk about the first topic. Here's the time code, whatever. Nintendo Switch.
Hoo-wee.
Here
There
it
it
is.
is.
I
The
can
number,
touch
the
it.
Nintendo Switch right here.
I can touch it.
This is our impressions after week is what we're calling
so
it.
that's
We're
the
not
thing.
doing.
It's like- so here's the deal. A lot of websites today, as of March 1st. So this system and Zelda and all that, they're going to be out for everybody in 2 days from now. But by the time this posts, you'll have had it already. Depending on the future past thing we've been through.
Exactly. There's no way to get it on
But
time.
the thing is, right now, March 1st,
Yeah.
today is when the embargo for Nintendo Switch review coverage went up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of quotes going on here. So a lot of sites have been reviewing the Nintendo Switch. I think this is like ridiculous. And I get that most people are saying it's review in progress and whatever.
Yeah.
The fucking, like, there's half the functionality of the thing isn't even available.
Right.
yet.
The online doesn't work for us right now. We
Yeah.
can't connect to that.
So I'm like, that's kind of, I don't know. I also don't really, besides getting views and clicks, which
You respect. You
I totally
like the hustle.
respect.
You like
I
the hustle.
appreciate it. I mean, hey, we're doing this topic, so it's the same thing. But there's no real reason to review consoles, like especially like when they first come out. Like, what are you reviewing necessarily?
Well, I mean that's the thing about it in general. Just we are lucky now the way that even when we're reviewing a game like we did, the Horizon review. All that means is, hey, the embargo's up so we can say whatever now.
Yeah.
And that's why the Zelda review in progress we did is a review in progress of like, hey, none of us beat it, so we don't feel comfortable. Not only have you and I not beat it, Colin hasn't started it because we only got the 2 Switches. He wants to play on his own unit, and like you and I are the units we bought, we're just giving it kind of funny to have units right here, stuff like that. It's a weird thing, and I don't know, and it is weird to phrase it. I mean, basically what it is that, and I'm the same way. When I went to IGN today, I was like, oh, Nintendo Switch review, open new tab, okay, cool, review in progress. Scroll down, because they've been doing, the IGN changes it up,
now.
but they do it a thing where it's like, this is what the number is right now. No number on this one, but I read Vince's like summary paragraph, the one I saw.
The
you got a
reason I
number
bring
now?
this up is there was a number.
What's the number now?
If I remember correctly, it was 6.9.
Oh, Fran.
Well, 7.
I know.
7,
That's what I'm saying.
6.9's a bit more fun.
Nah.
You feel me?
I do feel you. But it's like for us, that the problem is that they are serving a different kind of audience. Our audience,
sure.
because you're the best friends and the
6.7.
best human beings in the
6.7.
world.
So it's less fun.
You're out here. and you like to listen to us ramble and talk and just give the opinion.
Exactly.
And when I go to IGN, and it's no offense to Vince, a really long review, and I have 5 minutes before the Kind of Funny morning show, I want to see just the summation of it, which is why I read the last paragraph or whatever.
Absolutely. And so the thing that's interesting here is this caused a shitstorm where all over the Kind of Funny Facebook group and all the internet people are just like, holy shit, this thing, like, I'm canceling my pre-order, or this isn't worth it, or whatever.
People
and if you didn't have a pre-order, if you're really fucking, you know what you're getting, right?
Yeah.
And you know what you're not getting.
Yeah.
But to give the Nintendo Switch a 6.7, it's just so weird to me because do I agree with that? I don't disagree with it. You know, right now it is kind of an empty system that doesn't have a lot of features that the other consoles have and all of these things. But it's like putting a number to the review of a console that doesn't even have its internet, doesn't even have anything. It just seems so unnecessary.
Sure.
And it doesn't service anybody. Like words, I think, are important. A number, this is one of the cases, like I actually don't hate the number game. I'm fine with it. I know Colin is vehemently against it.
I don't like it either, but I understand the purpose, which is different.
I think that like in certain ways, the number can make sense. I think this is one of those where I'm like, no,
Sure.
There's no point in putting a grade to something right now. At the end of its life cycle, we'll be able to look at the Nintendo Switch and be like,
well, that's the whole point with consoles in general, right? Like, I mean, mainly you want to know, is it work? Is it not, it broken? What's the problems? And I know that's why like the tweets have been going around so much of like the Joy-Cons getting unsynced or whatever and like having a problem communicating and people worrying about that shit. And like, I understand that technical roundup, but again, that's just impressions of it.
Yeah.
Review, I understand what you're saying, where it is, okay, what does it matter? Like, even when I think, when I think of reviews, right, and consoles, I think a lot of like when Fran reviewed Xbox One, and like that's where the gif of him working out in the Kinect, isn't it? Or was it the reviewed
we
Kinect?
used that in that, but no. That
okay.
Was
but that's
for
the thing of like
360 actually for the Kinect Fitness.
There it is.
Whatever.
But he did review Xbox One, right?
He
I remember
did
talking
review
about
the Xbox One.
And that's the thing of like Xbox One was such a different machine back then in terms of what its focus was and where it was going to go and how does it fucking play your TV and crap like that. Nobody cared about it. Connect was such a big part of it. That's not the thing.
And it's like I get it from the point of, again, as a company, as somebody that makes content talking about things and giving opinions on things, I get IGN doing it. It's a piece of content people want to see.
Yeah.
And I guarantee they're going to do 5 more. They're going to do it yearly, where Nintendo Switch 2017 review, whatever, and just keep going because that's where we're at, and there's an audience for that. I just think that the number is so.
That's what gets you.
Yeah, it gets me just because I'm like, it means nothing.
Sure.
And the words do mean something. Reading Vince's words, I'm like, don't disagree with a single thing you're saying.
Yeah.
Makes total sense. But yeah, I mean, now getting to us, like what we think about it. So we've had it for a little over a week now.
Yeah, we got it. We got it
that.
last. I left on Wednesday, so we got it Tuesday. So we've had it, a week and a day.
Week and a day.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want. What do you like? What do you not like?
I mean, this is one of those things we're talking about where, I mean, honestly, right now talking about it, I feel so, as we talk about the review score and all of what Vince's words are and all these different things, it's so nice to feel that not any of that weighed on me. Because in fact, I love the Nintendo Switch. Like, period, end of statement. And it's like, yeah, sure. Should there be more games? Should there be this? Should there be that? Yeah, of course there should be. But I mean, I guess kind of whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for me, the indies thing, the Nindies they did, which is, I have a hard time saying.
Yeah.
But the Nindies announcement, right? I went to that. Like, it's a long story, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm Greg Miller. And that's what I was talking about, you liking rambling. I'm a Sega kid. I have no affinity to Nintendo. I've never had the attachment to the characters, to the nostalgia, to the things that people really love about Nintendo. So for me, I always feel like an outsider. Even when I buy my GameCube and I buy it because of Twin Snakes, and then I play Animal Crossing, Mario Kart. I fall in love with those games, but it's specific to those games. It's not like that gave me a wealth of history and all the knowledge you guys have about every Mario game out there and stuff like that. And so then even like 3D, when I finally bought a DS Lite, I was like, that was a good system. All right, cool. But again, it was like, all right, leave it Asians, a few things. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not connecting with it for some reason. I connect with this machine so much. This is a machine that is in so many ways built for my lifestyle.
It's the Vita 2.
It is. And I mean, that's the thing to say. And like, I know that we got burned in quotes with the Vita. You know what I mean? Where was the support? Where was that? Where was this? I honestly feel, and like people, I'm canceling my pre-order. When people fucking get this in their hands and they start playing Zelda on it, it is a switch of like, it's a switch of getting flipped of, this thing's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Like we have a Zelda review in progress up of our Zelda impressions. If you missed that for some reason, Zelda's fucking awesome. And playing it on this is so great. And again, what I was saying in that review of, I don't want to rush Zelda. I don't want to sit there and feel like I had to, for that review, be under the gun, do all this everything. I'm going to milk it in quotes. Not like I'm only going to play it on the plane or like I had thought about it. I'm going to play that game whenever I have a fucking free moment. And when I'm at that Nindy event yesterday, and we're gonna have a let's play up of 3 games I did there where I captured them. I played. I should have brought my notes in.
Next week we're gonna do a topic going through all the Nindy announcements.
Okay, cool. But like the ones I played were all games where I'm like, fuck, this is great. And I'm like, when is this game coming out? And a few of them were like, we can't tell you, real soon. And it's like, oh fuck, okay, great. Like, I'm into your game. I can see myself playing it, and it's exactly what I want in terms of like playing on this thing. I'll have Zelda. I beat Zelda. Mario Kart's right around the corner, which if you want to be a hater, like Colin always throws in my face, like, oh, it's a port. It is a port. I hated the Wii U. I didn't play the Wii U, so I didn't play as much Mario Kart as I wanted. Being able to play you, the best friends on there, being able to play online, being able to play you at the end of the day, totally in for. Beyond, as we go out, you start. But I mean, we're getting into what is going to happen? What do we predict is going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Just right here. Like, I'm impressed with this machine every time I use it. Like, I love the screen. I do love how easy the controllers are to pop on and pop off. Once I figured out and I've started working with the wrist strap deals, you know what I mean? That. But it's the same thing. Like, as of recording this, if you follow me on social media, last night was the night where it was me, Jen, Scott Lowe, and Neil Druckmann. And we were there, and at the end of the night, or towards, latter half of the night, they were like, well, let's play 1-2 switch. And we walked over there and did it. And every 1-2 switch game starts the same way. What do you have to do? Oh, okay. And then you play it and you're like, fuck. You're laughing. You're being stupid. You're all acting a fool. And it is that thing of every time you lose, it is, all right, one more time. I can do this. I can do. And I mean, again, I think 1-2 switch for $50. What I kept saying last night is, I'm like, can you believe they didn't pack this in? This would have been the perfect pack-in of
packing.
Here's this goofy party game, and you're doing all these different things, and these because like when you are doing like the ball count, and it's like, fuck, how many balls are in here? I can feel it. Like the safe cracking game, and they have so many goofy. There's a couple turds in there, but there's a lot of really fun, stupid ones in there. And I think when that gets marked down, a lot of people are going to pick it up and have fun with it. But even beyond that, it's just speaking to the potential of the system.
Yep.
Here is Zelda. Awesome. Here is Mr. Shifty, which is fucking Hotline Miami, except your Nightcrawler. And it's like, yeah, are you fucking kidding me? You know what I mean? The other explosion spaceship game, the shmup I was playing that I have over there. I'll show it to you. You're going to love it.
Okay.
Like all those indie games I was like, yeah, fuck, these are all really cool. And so if it's what the Vita is now, or not what the Vita should have been in a way. But it's like, it's this weird comparison to the Vita of, cool, we're Nintendo. We are putting out first party. This is our console. We are putting out first party awesome games on this. And these Nindies will be there to get you through it for a little bit. Hopefully more come. Hopefully the sales are great and the reception's great. And then you see third parties go, well, why don't we let the people who made Valiant Hearts... Ubisoft is never going to be like, let's make an Assassin's Creed for it. But the Valiant Hearts team could probably make something cool for it. And
Rayman Legends team could definitely use something cool. All the UbiArt stuff. But that's what's interesting about this. We said it was like the Vita 2. Yeah. But in a lot of ways, it's like the Vita and the Wii U, the strengths of those things together. Where it's like you do have the amazing quality first-party games the Wii U had, and you have the indie and portability and all of that stuff of the Vita together. Yeah. And there's no question of cross-buy, no question of cross-save. It's all there. And when you look at the 60 indie games are announced, and they're not just like, oh, here's a bunch of shit you never heard of. It's, hey, here's 10 games you never heard of that look super rad. Yeah. Here's 10 games that have
new content,
certified hits on other systems, but it's the definitive edition. Shout out to Overcooked.
Hell yeah, Overcooked!
Right, and here's a couple other ones that are interesting. Here's a couple reimaginings of old games and all this stuff. It's like, and 2017, they're like, these are all coming this year. Yeah, and it's like, okay, great. We're starting the library starting to come together because you do have the admittedly bare AAA or first party Nintendo game lineup that we know for the year. Yeah. But that does include Zelda, which I can say now is one of my favorite Zeldas, if not my favorite Zelda of all time, and Mario Odyssey coming at the end of the year. Yeah. In between all this other stuff, like for me, I look at the Nintendo Switch as the system I get to play portably and for local multiplayer and party games and stuff like that, and side scrollers and retro style games, platformers, games that speak to me.
Yeah.
And so far, they're speaking to me very loud and very clear. And for as horrible as that Japanese presentation was that announced the details of the system, the Nindy presentation, did you see it?
No, I was on the way to another event, so I saw all the Nintendo tweets from it. And that's when I was like, oh shit, Overcooked. And oh, this is awesome. You know what I mean?
17 minutes.
Yeah.
It was the Sony PlayStation E3 conference last year in 17 minutes of starts with a fucking trailer for SteamWorld Dig 2.
Yeah.
Goes straight into the dude. Hey, we got a lot of stuff. Like some guy that was like pretty good on camera, like entertaining enough. And it was just like, cool, let's take a look at a bunch of other stuff. And it was just trailer, logos, trailer, done. I'm like 60 fucking games.
Yeah.
You know, they went through 17 in the thing. And I'm like, it's great. And like, there's so much potential with this. Like imagine, so we got Stardew Valley coming, right? Game we haven't played, but I can't go to any event without people talking to me about how awesome Stardew Valley is.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool, having that portable, that's going to be fantastic.
And that's the thing about it, right? Is that Stardew Valley, I played like the first 20 minutes of it on PS4 when it came that first night. But I played, okay, this is going somewhere interesting, and I put it down because I did something else. Oh, fuck, Horizon's here. Oh, fuck, this is here. Oh, man, Night in the Woods is here. And it's like, that is always going to be a game on my fucking PlayStation 4 that's towards the bottom of the list because there's huge games and different things.
Have you
and
played Night in the
experiences.
Woods at all?
No, because Zelda's here.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right? Where it's like, there's just too much happening right now. I felt so bad because I've been a proponent for a Night in the Woods of every time somebody talks about it, I'm like, they hit me up for PAX 2 years or whatever, last PAX. PAX, we're going to East, so we're going to West or whatever.
West, yeah.
And we're like, come and just do this, or maybe it's PSX, doesn't matter. And they're like, it's like Gone Home, but it's in this different thing. I'm like, I'm fucking in, totally. But I'm just not able to. A game like Stardew on this has a chance. In the same way, there's so many games I put on my Vita that I'm like, I'll play that on Vita, where I never would have played that Spider game on PS4. Not because it's bad, just because there's way too much competition there.
Yep.
And I mean, for me, that was the coming off of DICE, where, you know, an hour and a half flight to Vegas and an hour and a half flight home, let alone in the hotel room. That was exactly what I wanted it to be. Where I'm on the plane, I sit down, I have my water, and as soon as like I sit down, I pull it out and I'm there and I'm playing, and I literally, it's like, oh fuck, we're landing. You know what I mean? Like it's an amazing game, and if they can put out more like that, if they can do more stuff like that, and I mean AAA, of course, and I do mean indies and stuff like that. Yeah. And that's the thing where I think the screen's bigger than the Vita. I think the games I was seeing yesterday, for the most part, are prettier than most games I've seen on the Vita. And I think that comes from the ability to dock it and put it to the TV. And that was what was surprising about me too, is I still to this day haven't personally played Zelda on my TV with this. Last night I let Neil fuck around with it. When I got to the hotel room for DICE, after I really finally sunk my teeth into Zelda, it was that thing of like, I played it in, you know, bed every so often or on the couch when I was killing time. And it was that thing of like, fuck, I should have packed the dock. You know what I mean? And it was that I already had everything else. I had this, I had the power plug. Literally all I didn't bring was the dock. I think I even have an HDMI cable in my bag at all times. It was like, shit, that would have been easy and that would have been awesome because it is as seamless as they talk about it, and there you go. And I was there like, you know, 5 days. I totally would have been pulling it in, pulling it out, and doing all these different things. Yeah,
I mean, from the system perspective, I've been loving mine as well.
Yeah.
And I specifically with the Pro controller on the TV, I'm like, it's great. This is so, it's what the Wii U wasn't in so many ways. I'm just like, I like this. I really, really like this.
Yeah.
And playing portably, I'm having a great time with it. The Joy-Con separate controllers where it's kind of like the Wii U or the
like
Wii
this,
nunchuck.
basically, if I was just sitting around playing like this.
Like, I'm also totally fine with it. I haven't experienced any of the issues of like the connectivity or whatever, but I also haven't played that much with it because that's not how I want to play.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't. I thought about it really briefly on the flight back that I was gonna put on the table and play like this, and I never did. Yeah. And it was mainly because as soon as I did, it was like, oh, we have to turn off airplane mode to do this, and I was like, nah, it's not worth it right now. I'm not, just to fuck around with. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I feel like the controllers feel great attached to the system though. Separate it is a little janky, but again, not gonna play that way.
Sure.
Playing the Joy-Con grip, that's when my friends come over and I'll give them that controller.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's the shitty third-party controller equivalent. But the Pro controller is great, and it's super sturdy, charges super fast. And that's the other thing with the battery life. I haven't had any issues so far on the multiple flights I've been on.
Yeah.
Granted, they were to LA, which is not too far, but I never had an issue of being like, oh fuck, I'm like getting really low on this thing.
Yeah.
And I've been playing a lot at home when Gio's watching TV and shit. And when I do need to charge it, because it's USB-C, it charges so quickly that I'm like, all right, cool. Like this seems fantastic.
Yeah, that was the thing in at the end of Vince's review, and I haven't read the entire thing, but he was saying, as a handheld, it's powerful in this, but it's not great because of the battery and all that stuff. And I was like, I haven't run into that. And again, hour and a half, like I said, it was an hour and a half flight to Vegas with a little bit of playing, before I got on the flight, and airplane mode, brightness down, and that when I landed, I had 50% battery.
Yeah.
And so going, I guess the real test for it is going to Boston next week. And our plan is, but this is what we're talking about of like, I'm trying to think of the times where I'm without power for that long. Because that flight, I'm not. I have the plug between my seats. I have it all set to go. I still think I can use my power packs, even though you talk me out of it because you want me to fry it in a test thing.
Just Google it.
I will. But I mean, that's, it's like, it's not a concern for me. Do I wish it went forever? Of course. I wish it had a 12-hour battery and everything was amazing. But like, it's so easy to port around already. And again, like even at the airport when I was waiting for my flight, I'm sitting at those chairs that have the power plugs there. If I really was worried about it, I could do there and get a jump start and be ready to go or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is they advertise people going to the park and playing. I've never done that. I'm never going to do that. Yeah. So, like, again, here's my thing. And I keep kind of reiterating the same point. But this system has a lot of faults if you play games in a lot of ways that people don't play games. Mm-hmm. If you just look at this for what does it mean to you, I think it's really easy to come to a decision of is it for you or not. It is for me entirely. I'm totally happy with it. 100%. I'm not happy with a lot of the decisions they made. I'm not happy that I don't have Virtual Console yet and that, so many things are weird. I don't get the scheduling. I don't know why so much of it is, when's this coming? I don't know, but we'll tell you soon. Yeah. Like, why did we not know Snipper Clips was a launch game until days before launch?
I mean, I bet because they saw the reaction that was getting, like, fuck, we have to get it out.
But there's so many questions even right now. Like, I bet by the time that this episode goes live, there's games that we don't know a release date for that we're going to get a release date for in the next couple of days. Yeah. Like, it's really weird where it does seem like it's just makeshift and people are just fucking throwing things together. But what's also shocking is going back a couple months, like looking at all those reports of developers being interviewed and like, are you working on anything for the Switch? And it was just like 80% or 85% of developers are not working on Switch games. And then all of a sudden it's like, 60 indies are just boom, announced and with so little detail about release dates. Like, that type of stuff just seems weird to me, but it also seems good in terms of it seems easy to develop things quickly on the system.
The one thing, and this is, scuttlebutt to the nth degree. A source I trust that I ran into yesterday with knowledge on the indie scene made a comment to me of, don't believe that Nintendo is being friendly to indies. Like, it's not all is not what that seems. And it was one of those, we need to follow up and have a different conversation about it.
Interesting.
But then I get there and it is like that indie event was super indie. Like, those were people there, and I don't know what that means. Maybe it's just lines are crossed. Maybe there's a personal conflict there. People don't like each other. I don't know what that, I don't even know what that really fucking means. I know that there was a room of awesome indie games there. I know that I think heard of Mr. Shifty, never seen it, and you know how I am. No offense, well, I don't care. I wouldn't play it on PC if it, you know what I mean. Like, I would be like, that game looks great, not for me. Totally gonna play it here. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I was like, yeah, 1,000% in.
I also think it's great that Jackbox Party Pack 3 was announced for it, and like other games like that, because again, I think Nintendo has a special thing about it when it comes to local multiplayer, and the fact that we know Mario Kart's coming. Yeah. I'm sure we're gonna get Smash at some point, and it's like, all right, cool. All the things that I love my Wii U for, I'm gonna love this thing for. But I am gonna get to enjoy all the Vita indie games on one console.
I mean, that would be the promise of this device, and especially if we're gonna keep comparing to the Vita, right? Is that it's not and it can't be Vita because Nintendo can't abandon it. Mm-hmm. Nintendo has nowhere to go, right? They have to make the third party, or I'm sorry, they have to make their first party exclusives. This is a Nintendo exclusive game you're going to get. So then if it is the peppered out indies, if it is the peppered out, not ports, because that's hard to get excited for, but you know what I mean? Like, if it is like somewhere in the middle, but it's not, if it's not, I don't, obviously you're paying, it's so weird because you talk about Vita and if it's like that and what it is and what it can learn. Obviously, Vita didn't attract third parties, but in the end, I think in the beginning people were trying, right? And I really feel that's going to be the difference here. It's the cart before the horse a bit, or like what the Vita resigned to be. Mm-hmm. When people hold this, and so many people are going to hold it for Zelda, and somebody else picks it, I can't get over how much I just like holding it. And that's the thing about it. And granted, it's new tech, so it's new hardware, but it feels great, and I love the way it's playing, and I love the way it feels. And even to, to dial it back, walk it back a bit. Like, you weren't wrong about the Joy-Con grip. Like,
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
I played it a few times at a different events in passing. Like it was like at RTX Sydney. I think it was the first time I held it. Right, I forget. And I played it for like 5 minutes. Like, wow, I don't know, this feels weird. Blah, blah. And then at that event yesterday, because again, I've only played it like this.
Yeah.
At the event yesterday when I was running around doing it, I played Kevin, can you go to my desk and just get me the little note cards off the thing? It's a purple note card. It's like exploding something or other of the game. I played that, which is the shmup in the ship with all the cool powers. I liked it a lot. And then played Mr. Shifty that way and a couple other games with that thing. And I was like, all right, no, this is good. This is fine. I want the Pro controller. Mine comes on Friday. Again, you know what I mean?
All I'm saying is when you have the Joy-Cons in the Joy-Con grip thing, it feels like a real controller. It doesn't feel like some shitty makeshift thing. It's like, oh shit, this is fine. I hate the buttons. They're too small. The only way I'm okay with that is when it's attached to this. Having said that, like, if the Nintendo Switch has a Nintendo Switch Pro, Nintendo Switch XL, whatever the fuck it is, I'm buying it. Like, I will trade mine in, like, take the hit on it. I don't care. Like, I do want bigger buttons. Or hopefully just give me bigger button Joy-Cons.
Yeah. Okay, don't worry about it.
But anyway, that's all exciting. But there is little things that do bother me, like the kickstand.
What about it?
Break. It's going to break.
Is it? Because it feels great so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I keep expecting it to be more wobbly than it is.
Yeah. I mean, it holds the thing up great. But I'm saying, like, that thing's going to be...
Pops back in.
I give it a month.
Oh, wait, what? I mean, I don't think I use it that often. And that's the whole thing is there's so many use cases to this thing of like like we're talking about how good it feels, right? Even the Joy-Cons popped out, which I think is a dumb look or whatever, and it's weird. Like playing 1-2 Switch last night for literally an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe fucking around with it. Like it felt natural. Like the little guy in your hand feels like it's supposed to, like it should feel. Like, you know what I mean? And it is that thing of like, I thought about it on the plane of playing with the things detached, like we talked about a second ago. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like that'd be a great way to play Zelda, but it's like, well, now no, it feels totally normal, and this does feel like a gun, and it does feel like I should be doing yoga or whatever. I'm milking these fucking weird buttons for milking the cow, and like, it's like, this actually has a really cool device. It's a really cool device.
I'm excited to see what they do with Virtual Console because just imagine playing like Mario 64 on this portably. Sure. Like that's exciting, and it sucks that it's not all available yet. But I do think that we are kind of the beta testers for this thing,
100%.
And it is just kind of trying to get that install base ready for the big moves to be made from third parties and from other stuff. Is that being hopeful? Absolutely, but I am hopeful about this. I'm enjoying my time with it a lot, and again, I just think that people need to look at it for what they're looking to get out of the console, because I see this as a handheld. I don't see it as a console.
Exactly.
And I love the fact that it works how I wish a handheld, like previous handhelds would, where I could just attach it to TV. I wish Vita had a better way to just play video games on TV and have it be as instant or whatever. I know there are ways.
Sure.
But they never work the way I want them to.
Yeah. And there's always some kind of thing. This is like made for that. And that's the whole point. Yeah.
And I love that I've had use case scenarios where I'm playing it portably. I've had use case scenarios where I'm playing on TV. And I've had times where I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Like I don't want to be having to look down like this. I want to be able to multitask a bit. So I have put it in the tabletop mode using a Pro controller, using this as a little TV. Like, I like that there's those options, and I can't wait for more games to, like, real substantial games to come out to see how I end up playing the majority of things. But I think it's going to be portably.
Graceful Explosion Machine is the game I'm looking for that I like.
Okay.
It reminds me of Pixel Junk, but it's more of a Pixel Junk shooter, obviously, but more of a shmup and faster combat, and it has a bit of like it doesn't look like this at all. It looks like a Pixel Junk game, so cartoony and bright, but it has the dash ability of like a Housemarque game or something like that, and shoots missiles, different enemies to shoot and stuff like that. I'm a big fan.
Any closing words on Nintendo Switch?
I mean, it's one of those, maybe we'll look back in a year and it'll be like, nope, this totally went the way of a Vita. Nobody supported it and da-da-da-da-da. I do think people are going to hold this machine and really like this machine. And a part of that, of course, is Zelda. But then even getting beyond how great Zelda is and looking into the machine and the make of it and the feel of it, like I think there's going to be, I want to play more games on this. And since we're saying that now at the onset versus when we had a million Vita games, but they were all fucking using touch or whatever, I don't want to play games like this. That's a different statement.
Yeah.
And if Nintendo can just get out in front and keep the positivity going, you know what I mean? Of like, we have these indies, great. Here's how Virtual Console is going to roll. Here's Mario. Here's Kart. Here's this. Here's that. Here is the Mario. Get us to E3. Show us what's happening. But I mean, it's one of those. Nick put it really well, which is funny for not Nick like he's an idiot, but like because I don't think he follows the video game industry like we do. In the way of when we were talking about it on the morning show a couple weeks ago. before we got him. And he was like, yeah, he's like, the read I get on it is the fact that, yeah, it had that bad announcement conference, but people still left like, I want to like this. This still seems cool. It's just a shitty thing. And it did this thing, I think, where all the goofy news, the awkwardness of it, blah, blah, it like took out the legs for a second, but it was able to get back up, but expectations have been lowered. And I really do think the machine exceeds those expectations when you pick it up. And so, yeah, like you said, if you've pre-ordered it, you're keeping your pre-order. And when you get your hands on it, you're gonna be like, this is fucking cool. I want to play more things on this.
Yeah, a lot of the reviews coming out today, just to not to start a whole other conversation, but I thought it was interesting because Jason Schreier, for example, tweeted out that if you don't have a Wii U or a Switch and you're trying to get it for Zelda, get a Switch for Zelda. Like don't get a Wii U for Zelda.
Oh, sure.
But like if you can hold off, you should wait for the next iteration, like the XL or the Pro or whatever the hell it is of the Switch. And it's like I get that, but at the same time, like, man, I just can't imagine not wanting to play Zelda now. And then but it is available on Wii U. Like it's an interesting thing to think about. Like I got a lot of runtime out of my Wii U, but like I don't need to play Zelda on it. Like I will buy a Switch for it. I am Nintendo's audience. Like I am the sucker, So it's like I get that. But even if I wasn't that, like you, for example, like you could have played Zelda on the Wii U.
To dial us back to a point I laid the groundwork for, and I think I got off of, as I often do. I'm not a Nintendo guy. I have no affinity for Nintendo in a way. Like I totally respect them. Don't get me wrong. And I have plenty of good Nintendo memories. But like this is the first Nintendo console where I feel like I'm like, this is awesome on every level. You know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong. I had a Game Boy SP clamshell, and I was like, that was cool. But like, it was a pain in the. I forget what my complaints were at the time.
There's no headphone jack.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. And like, there's always little things to it where even like the DS Lite, where it was like, this is cool, but it's like. It's not I love my PSP, you know what I mean? When I had my PSP, like that was like the machine for me. This feels like sexy tech. It feels cool. It feels like a great jumping in point for somebody who wasn't here. And especially for it to be like somebody who, for me, like you put it really well in the review where you're talking about like it is the original Legend of Zelda and Ocarina of Time, had this baby or whatever for that game. And I was, Ocarina of Time is my first Zelda game. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I loved Majora's Mask. But then for me, we did start stepping away from what I knew as Zelda, what I knew a Zelda game to be. And so, from there, I don't think I really enjoy a Zelda game. And I mean, like, enjoy, like, I fucking think about it and I have fond memories about till Link Between Worlds. And I played, we talked about earlier, the Twilight Princess, and I played Skyward Sword for a short amount of time. And I was like, this is definitely not my game. And so to jump back in and have Zelda there and feel like feel like, this is familiar to what a Zelda game is, but this hardware is new and cool and awesome, and I do want to show it off and I do want to use it all the time. I mean, I'm over the moon happy with it. But again, I think my expectations were low of like, is Zelda going to be able to perform after Horizon? Is this thing going to be a piece of shit? All these different things. And so far, I'm happy as hell.
Hell yeah, son. Next topic.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about your little adventures in Vegas.
Oh.
This topic, though, and this whole show, actually, only possible because of Patreon producer Salem got him.
Hey, how you doing, Salem?
Yeah.
We say your name that way. We're sorry.
Yeah, I hope it's kind of right.
I forget.
I'm trying.
We listened to
as
it
long as you
time.
know that I'm trying.
He's enjoying the shtick, I'm sure.
Great.
Plus, I had a DM him about it, so he got a DM from Greg Miller. I'm sure he's over the moon.
You slid into them DMs? Salem got him DMs?
Yeah. Dice.
You went to Dice.
I did go to Dice.
You didn't go to Dice. Your first ever Dice.
First ever Dice.
You hosted the Dice Awards.
Yeah.
With Jessica Chobot.
Reunited.
Did it feel so good?
It felt so good. Okay. Oh my God. No, that was one of the best things about it. So yeah, I went and hosted the Dice Awards, 20th Annual Dice Awards. And they approached me first, I think, and they were like, hey, we'd like, actually, it's funny. They were having a conversation, the board of directors. And it was Shuhei Yoshida, who's over there on that board, who's like, hey, this guy's going to hit you up and you need to talk to him because it just don't blow off this email kind of thing. And it was the thing of like, hey, we were thinking about you for the Dice Awards. It's like, oh, that's really awesome. You know what I mean? And he was like, yeah, we're thinking of you and Jessica Chobot. I was like, that's awesome. Like, blah, blah. And it was one of the things he asked a question about. I'm like, honestly, I don't know that answer because Jess and I never did this. Like, this is what, you know what I mean? Like, now it's easy to see her at the Nerdist and me kind of funny and be like, oh, well, they both came from IGN and they host stuff together all the time. Like, I was, rookie editor and like I worked my way up while Chobot was there, but like that was still when they were like, we're not putting editors on camera, you know what I mean? Like that's Chobot's rolling there, that's Aaron Boulding, and we're gonna put all these, they're gonna do all these different things. So like we never worked as peer talent.
It's a dynamic duo.
Exactly. No. So yeah, to get together and work with her and like hang out with her again too. That's the other thing. I see Jess in passing at shows all the time, have a conversation. I don't know if you know this. I'm in love with her husband, Blair. So I talk to Blair all the time. I go to brunch with Blair when he comes to San Francisco. But Jess is always not here for business. So like to do stuff and work with her again, yeah, it was great. We had a good chemistry. Mike Drucker wrote the script. I was able to finagle him a job in there. And it was just fun to be around that energy and do that kind of thing because that's not, I mean, it is what we do, but it's not what we do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We always talk about this. Like there was a couple moments last year that happened that were really fun for me and you.
Sure.
You and I, whatever the fuck. You people out there, where like one of them was the Final Fantasy event,
of course,
where we went, and it was, they gave us like, here's all the bullet points you need to hit, here's the lines that we really want you to say, but besides that, be Tim and Greg.
Yep.
Be goofy, be stupid, play to the kind of funny audience.
Yeah.
Like we want this to feel.
Well, you and I was going to talk about that one where it was like when we got the first draft and they're like, all right, cool, let's walk through it, and they open with a rewind theater. And we were like, oh, like you've watched what we do. Like, yeah, you'll be on green. You'll talk. Like, what do you mean? We know who you are. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, it sounds stupid, but like, sometimes people just hire hosts to be hosts and they don't know anything about their content. So like for them to play to our strengths that way was great.
Which was super awesome. And so we did that, and it was really fun, and it was a great experience. And I'll never forget, there was a time like when we first got there to the Shrine Theater and
Shrine Auditorium.
the Shrine Auditorium, and you were like, holy shit, like this is a big deal.
Yeah,
and
it's a real thing.
Because we're so used to just like, oh yeah, we'll show up, we'll talk about video games.
Yeah.
Like we know how to do that. But like being there was like, oh, this is real.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, because it was just like, I always talk about it, we're so busy with Kind of Funny, and it's great. It's a great problem to have. I'm glad it's not the alternative, but we're so busy that I get to think 2 days ahead, maybe, you know what I mean? Like I need to book that trip to Edmonton still. Haven't done it, but it's because it's 2 weeks away. I don't have fucking time to worry about that.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's how we have to think. So when we got to the shrine that day and we were walking up and I was on the phone about something, I looked up and it was like, 4-story tall banners for Final Fantasy. I was like, fuck, right, this is a real thing. Well, what's the worst that can happen? Oh, it could be Mr. Caffeine from E3. Fuck, we could really fuck this up if we were not paying attention. You know what I mean? Yeah. And yeah, the DICE Awards was the exact same thing of like, sure, yeah, I'll do the DICE Awards. And then it was when the first developer got there and snapped and tweeted at me a photo of the ticket to the DICE Awards, and it says hosted by Greg Miller and Jessica Choba. I was like, oh, fuck, right, this is like a real,
fucking cool.
It's cool, but it's like, that's like a real thing too. Fuck, well, what's the worst that could happen in an award show? Oh, right, we did a whole topic about how award shows aren't that great, and fuck, god damn it, like, you know what I mean? And that was the thing of like,
well, I mean, I think that's what's awesome though. So we did the Final Fantasy thing. Now you did DICE, but in between, me and you hosted the GameStop Manager Expo
for Square
Enix's like presentation, and we were just there for a day doing 9 presentations, like back-to-back hour-long presentations, going through all the different games Square had coming up. And like that was another thing where they're like, all right, cool, you need like, here's the details about the game,
here's the loose stuff,
make sure that you like explain this and this and what the DLC pack and all the bullshit facts are, right? But besides that, they're like,
do whatever you want. Do
you guys. And we were able to.
They let me step off the stage and preach about Vita.
Yeah,
9 times.
You made fun of them not for putting games on Vita, and the games that they put on Vita, you like gave extra attention, and like people got it because that's us. And we made jokes about Mr. Caffeine at E3 and got to do all that. And it was cool because that was a different skill set that we don't get to exercise that much. And I enjoy it because like, we get to travel the world and do panels, which is fucking awesome, and I love it. But that is just it's this. But instead of a camera, there's actual
you egg
people
us
there.
on, and then we go do something crazier.
Yeah, you know? So that's super cool. But I like that we're getting these opportunities to be able to do actual hosting, especially you. And like the DICE Awards, like it was awesome. And you brought up the topic that we did about the award shows and all that stuff and how they can be bad and whatever. And it's like, these things are hard. There's a level of corniness that you can't get away from.
Sure.
And like there's certain things that need to happen in order to keep the thing moving, right? Like we just watched the Oscars. I don't know if you watched it, but I watched the Oscars, and like Jimmy Kimmel hosted it, and like you did a great job, but it was still awkward.
Yeah,
of
course.
But the fact that you got Drucker to write the jokes and punch things up and really like make it funny, it's like, what better can you do than that? Not much.
I mean, honestly, that's the thing about it. Where I love the DICE Awards were a lot of fun and great, and I think we did a good job. But it's like I told you when you texted me, like, "Hey man, you killed. That was great." I'm like, "Did we?" Because I can't tell. Because I'm not one to let the comments get in my head. But it was that we went out and did the opening part, and then went backstage, and I opened up our Twitch chat because we were hosting it, and 9 out of the 10 comments that you see are like, "Man, the audience is dead." And I was like, you're right. And then like we go do something else, come out, and it was like they were popping for developers that were coming out, not me and Jess. And it was like, now stepping back, days removed from it. Again, I think it was fine. I think it was great. It was that I wasn't prepared on several levels. Number one, Mike tweeted at somebody who was during the day that had him up like, oh, you wrote it, right? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, it reads like an Up at Noon monologue in the beginning, and I didn't remember what that was like. So to go out there and do a monologue where, yeah, I'm not ad-libbing because there's a punchline and there's a joke and there's a give and a take.
Well, that's the thing, yes. So you had a teleprompter.
Yeah.
We've never had teleprompters at the other events.
Oh, sure. Yeah, exactly. That was like, it's a skill I have, obviously. And I was like, oh, this is a different cadence. And then it also took away what I get to do whenever we do the other thing, where if I know, if we go out and we do a panel and the audience is on their hands, right? It's not because they don't like us, they're listening intently. And that's my whole thing where I always do the joke, right? When we do a thing of like, who's ever been to a panel before? And anybody raises their hands, I'm like, you were at a bad panel. Don't raise your hands, you're not allowed to. You have to cheer, you have to clap, you have to boo. You can do whatever you want. And we do like, what if they say this? What if that happens, right? And these were developers there who were there to be respectful to each other and us. And so they came off as dead. The audience wasn't mic'd. And it's that thing of, I wasn't prepared for it on that level of like, oh shit, I should have told them I'm gonna come out and give me 2 minutes to ad lib and get, because I would have jumped off the stage, I would have ran over to Neil Druckmann, heavy lifted, I would have done stuff to make them kind of understand the vibe of who I am, and to the extent who Chobot is, right?
Yeah,
like, you know
but
what
I mean, even then, like Chobot doesn't need to be doing that. Chobot's character, like, and I say that in terms of like what she's presenting
in an endearing way,
is a bit more like snarky in a way of like she'd be making fun of you, calling you stupid for being,
and that's
like that.
And that was the thing,
and that
like,
would work together.
And so there was that. There's the fact that, you know, you always hear people be like, man, the audience wasn't mic'd, right? Like, and that's why it doesn't play as well, because there was laughs in the room or whatever. That was the thing. And it's like one of these, like, if I had done this before, I would have known that I'm gonna do this. Hey, we need the audience mic'd. Hey, you know what I mean? Like, I would have taken it a bit more by the horns of like, hey, we need more ad-libbing here. You know, one of the feedback in the chat and online too was like, yeah, they're good hosts, but they're not even hosting that much, because it was a lot of like, all right, cool, now it's these developers and these people and that. Because once we did our monologue, that was the heavy lifting, and then it was just that. It was like, okay, I would have done that differently. Afterwards, like the party, and it's the normal thing of everyone I passed or whatever come like, hey, great job, you were way better than last year. This is great, blah blah. And it wasn't just the lip service thing; they were calling out specific jokes. They were telling me stories. Yeah. But like 2 or 3 people were like, I think including John Drake, we're talking about the fact of, the best parts were when we ad-libbed. And they would do the thing where they looked back, like the whole Superman 64 thing goes on and I'm yelling and Chobot stopping me, like, that's not scripted line for line, right? And it like when I came out after that one speech, I'm like, that guy was fucking awesome. Like, that wasn't scripted. And it was like, there needed to be more of that, because that got a better reaction out of the room too. And like, that was my energy. Like, I'm not saying the show was bad. I'm not saying we didn't do a great job. I'm not saying Drucker didn't do great. The production staff was amazing. That was another thing. When I walked in there and saw the set, I was like, nope, fuck, this is a real thing. Yeah. But it's that award show topic we did on the Gamescast of like, what makes a good one? How would we do it? And da da da. I didn't do that here. Here I showed up and hosted. Next year I want to be. We need to be hands-on, and this is what needs to happen. And it's just, I didn't have that arsenal or ammo of information that I could have pulled from for the time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was great. I thought you did great. Everything you're saying makes sense.
Yeah.
But
and that's the thing. I'm not taking away from it.
The video's on IGN. They had the exclusive streaming rights to it. So check them out there, because I was very impressed. It was one of the things I work through every day, but I was like, shit. Like, constantly impressed by like what we're capable of, and you just kind of doing the Greg Miller thing. And
I don't know how much DICE stories you want to talk about or whatever. I think real quick shout outs to you guys, the best friends, of course. Obviously, you know, we owe you everything. But I got there on Wednesday, did a quick rehearsal run through just of like what's happening on stage. We ran through the script, and then there was 2 parties that night. And the first party was like the super uber exclusive, like you have to be a speaker to come in here, like you're doing something at this talk. So like I walked in, and eventually Shuhei's there and Todd Howard's there and everybody's there. But the guy who runs the whole thing, who I didn't met yet, and I mean, I don't mean like he's producing it. I mean, he's like in charge of what is it? Not DICE, AICS, I believe it is. I don't know. The Academy of whatever. Yeah. He came in. And he's like, oh hey, like we're so glad to have you. But in no uncertain terms, he's like, you're here because of your Game Awards speech. He's like, that was an eye opener to us that there's people in our industry that we can rely on to celebrate games the way we want them celebrated and not have to bring in an outside celebrity and not have to bring in, no offense to any, celebrity who comes in, and many of them are gamers, obviously, but not somebody who plays a few games, somebody who lives and breathes games and can sit there and tell you why this matters and who that developer is and all these different things.
Yeah.
And that's a reaction to the fact that you guys obviously got me on that stage that night and got me to do that and supported me and allowed me to be that voice in the industry. And then in the same breath, saw Todd Howard got the Lifetime Achievement Award, saw him come in, never had the chance to meet up with him at that party or whatever. And for context, the last time I'm in a room with Todd Howard, I think, was when he was giving the Skyrim demo, the first ever demo that Colin always talks about that he saw in Utah. He gave it again at some other event, and it was me, and it was 30 other people, and Sessler was there, and people like that. And I don't think I ever spoke a word to him, right? And so I see him, and we don't ever get to talk to him, blah blah. And then we're backstage, and he came out to give he already gotten his award. He was back there to go give an award. And he's walked over, he's like, hey, Greg, blah, blah, you're doing a great job tonight. I really like what you do. And it's one of those things of there's moments in my career of where I was talking about the Kojima one, where that first time I get the photo and he has no idea who I am. And then the next time that, we want the Greg Miller experience. It's cool to see that. And not from the jokey Greg ego level, but from the, hey, you guys have built this with me into this thing where Todd Howard knows who I am, which is fucking mind-boggling because Todd Howard makes amazing video games and probably is a really busy dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
it's super cool, and it's great that he's paying attention.
Yeah,
it's not like what we're doing is the most important thing in the world or even important at all, but it's cool to hear that it is to the people that we respect so much.
And it's the same thing of at the after party, sitting there and talking to everybody. 9 times out of 10, what people come up to blah, 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 and it's you guys, kind of funny, are killing it, by the way, and I can't get over your audience.
Yep.
That gets said.
Always.
It's out of order, but Steve Gaynor's topic 4, that's what he said when he was leaving. He's like, and your audience is so great. Everyone says that about you guys.
Yeah, so that's all fantastic. We're running a little long on this topic, but Greg, what do you have any fun little stories about Shuhei or any cool people you ran into?
I laid it all out to Shuhei, what we want to do for Kind of Funny Live 3. And he just said, what did he say? God, he's like, you guys have some very big ideas. I'm like, yeah, Shu, we're trying on this one. I could use your help if we could get it.
You guys have some big ideas. I love that.
If you watch the DICE Awards, I believe it was on their last award, Neil Druckmann made a reference that, Nolan North was supposed to be there, but he had missed his flight. Literally, the show ends. We all come out. Jen was taking photos with some friends, and Nolan comes up out of breath. And I just hugged him I'm so sorry. He's like, I missed my flight. Got canceled. This happened. I had to switch off 2 cabs, and he totally missed everything. And then I introduced Nolan to Jen. Great, no big deal. Blah blah. We end up at the party hours later. And I'm talking to Nolan again, and Jen comes over and she's like, oh, hi, I'm Jen. And Nolan just looks at her, and I'm like, this is Nolan North. You just met him 20. She's like, oh my God, and ran away. She just ran away. She was so mortified to have to be introduced multiple times. That was cool. It was, there's those moments in my life where we get to work with so many cool people, and we know all these cool people, and I'm in awe of all our developer and voice actor friends and all these different things. But to be sitting there and I'm talking to Nolan, and then some of the Naughty Dog guys showed up, and then Shuhei popped over, and then Mike Bithell was here, and I'm popping back and forth and blah blah. And eventually Nolan was talking to, I think, Naughty Dog, and I was like, to Bithell, I'm like, yeah, blah blah. And he's like, that's Nolan North. And I'm like, You don't know Nolan North? And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, so sorry. And I grabbed Nolan. I'm like, Nolan, this is Mike Bithell. He makes amazing games. Mike, this is Nolan North. He's fucking everything. And then they hit it off and just started having these conversations. Like, that's awesome. And you can only, I've had my heart broken a lot of times where I bring awesome people together and then I hope they make something cool. You know what I mean? And then you hear they tried to and it didn't work out. But I'm not saying they signed some contract there, but I'm like, fucking put him in your next game. You know what I mean? Why not? Make that happen. They're great dudes. It was awesome. It was a great show.
Any other closing thoughts on DICE in your experience?
Never been to DICE before. It was always the Jim Riley or Andrew Goldfarb show when we went to IGN, right? Because
I was there with Goldfarb one year.
Yeah, because it's suits and it's this and it's hobnobbing and it's interesting because it is that thing where GDC is happening right now and PAX East is about to happen, and those kind of shows are. We are indie devs. We're Rami. It's Steve Gaynor. You know what I mean? It's Tim Schafer. It's Dave Lang. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying those are lesser than people. Those are boots on the ground, very much like Kind of Funny, where I'm CEO, I'm fucking doing everything. You are doing everything. You know what I mean? We're all hustling because we're small teams and Dice is the opposite of that, where it is, all right, I'm Todd Howard, and yes, I've left whatever amazing project I'm at the top of the pyramid to do to come here. And like, that's cool and weird to walk around and have it be like, Shu is usually, if he's not at my house eating dinner, Shu is usually like, oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, good to see you, Greg. Bye, hug. Yeah, you guys killed it. E3. I'll see you later. You know what I mean? Like, he's getting pulled in a million different directions. But to be at an industry event, in a room at a party hosted by the state of Louisiana, that's so exclusive that I see Shu come in and I'm in the middle of a conversation, blah, blah. I turn around 20 minutes and Shu's just sitting there eating ham, drinking a beer by himself at a table that I get to walk over and sit down and spend 45 minutes with Shu. I was like, this is fucking rad. It's weird. It's cool.
Fuck
It's
yeah.
rad.
I love that. I love that so much. All right, Greg.
Yeah.
Third topic of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk about some Xbox.
X gonna give it to you?
X, not that X.
Oh,
the
sorry.
different
My
X.
apologies.
The Bill Gates X.
Box gonna give it to you.
You know what I mean? The box.
Box going to give it to you.
I specifically want to talk about the Xbox Game Pass.
Sure.
So this is another thing where we're talking about it, and Gamescast can kind of get weird in terms of this is old news, is essentially.
But we're going somewhere with it that's not just, hey, let's explain the games.
Exactly. But I do want to explain
Game Pass.
Game Pass. I do want to explain it to you because there's a lot.
Well, I want everybody to have the same
details
base of
here.
knowledge before we talk about stuff.
Yeah. So let's get off. Let's get off right here.
I'd love to get off right now.
Let's do it. Xbox Game Pass is a Netflix-like subscription service for Xbox One that gives members access to a catalog of free Xbox One and 360 games. GameSpot talked to Aaron Greenberg.
Friend of the show.
We're friends with Aaron Greenberg. Like that guy. I
Yeah.
like that guy. We should have him back soon.
Yeah, we should.
Games with Gold and Xbox Game Pass are two different services offerings with unique benefits. A Microsoft representative said in a statement to Kotaku, Games with Gold is an added benefit specific to Xbox Live Gold members that rewards players with 2 to 4 free games each month to enjoy, whereas Xbox Games Pass is a subscription-based service that gives you unlimited access to over 100 Xbox One and 360 backward-compatible games for Xbox One for $10 a month. Xbox Live Gold is not required for Xbox Game Pass. However, Xbox Live Gold is required for multiplayer games that are part of the Xbox Game Pass category. Makes sense.
Yeah.
The Microsoft spokesperson also clarified the Xbox Game Pass catalog will update every month only, quote unquote, sometimes will games be removed. So very similar to Netflix.
Sure.
Where every month something's
Something's leaving and
but-
something's coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something's always
so you'll
coming.
be able to play all the games in the library for as long as you remain a subscriber. If you cancel your subscription or a game is removed, save data is stored to your account so you can pick it up where you left off in the future should you decide to resubscribe or buy a game. Xbox Games Pass is currently available on Xbox One for people in the Xbox Insider program for testing with a limited selection of titles before its public rollout that is slated for sometime this spring. So soon.
Sure.
When asked if Microsoft would let users purchase an Xbox Game Pass membership and gift it to a friend, Greenberg said this is not a confirmed feature, but he does like the idea. Greenberg also confirmed that Xbox Game Pass will only have a month-by-month subscription option available, priced at $10. No other random ass hour
I'll
by
buy it
hour,
for a year. Do this
anything
thing.
like
Oh,
that,
hour
because
by
that would be
hour.
stupid. P.S. Now.
Hey now.
Hey now.
Hey now. Dreaming.
Additionally, Greenberg said that Xbox Game Pass can be shared as part of Xbox One's home sharing policy.
The family
cool,
stuff, yeah.
great, awesome. Sounds good. There's more than 100 games available, and the first 10 announced so far. We got Fable 3, Gears of War Ultimate, Halo 5, Lego Batman, Mad Max, Mega Man Legacy Collection, NBA 2K16.
Wait, I'm sorry. Game of the decade? Mad Max is going to be
Game of the Decade.
Wow.
Right next to Mega Man Legacy Collection.
Wow.
Payday 2.
Wait, did Colin build this?
Saints Row 4, Soul Calibur 2, which I'm really confused about. Was Soul Calibur 2 re-released on Xbox One in like some type of
Would it be
way?
360?
Well, I mean, so Soul Calibur 2 came out on Xbox,
Okay.
right?
I'm not. Seriously, I gloss over when the fighting game started.
Well, but Soul Calibur 2 is the one that was Xbox, GameCube, PS2, whereas Heihachi, Link, and Spawn.
Okay.
So this seems weird to me. That game sticks
That one stands out to you? Okay.
Yeah, just because that's an Xbox game. Maybe it was re-released somehow on 360 or Xbox One. Like, I don't know. Weird. Let me know. Someone tweeted me. I want
Oh,
this
trust me, they
explained.
will.
Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is the last one.
Okay.
So I'm like, that's a lineup
Yeah.
of just 10 of the 100
Yeah.
that they're coming out with. Like, so this isn't some bullshit. Halo 5, Gears of War, like these are the games.
Mad
right?
Max.
And Mad Max. Yes. So other cool things are that are different than PlayStation Now is on the Xbox, if you like the game, you can get a discount to buy it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's a fun thing. PlayStation Now, it's you play it and then you gotta
Exactly. You're
pay
done.
the full price. PlayStation Now has a variety of different options to pay. You can rent a game for 4 hours for $1.99, or you can get a 1 month membership for $20, or a 3 month membership for $45.
Sure.
So already like the clear winner in pricing.
I mean, like the
Xbox.
You want to run through the tail of the tape a little bit longer?
I want to get through
Sure.
the very little bit of just the differences because I want to put that on this table. And then Xbox is Xbox One and Xbox 360 games, whereas PlayStation Now, at least currently, is only PS3.
PS3.
And the biggest difference is PlayStation Now streaming, which creates issues. Xbox Game Pass, you download the game.
That is the backbreaker for me, and that's what they led with talking about it. And I think that is the really big holy shit. That's a way bigger difference. Is the fact that like PlayStation Now to me, and it's one of those where I sit there and I am often like, man, I'd love to play Catherine, or I'd love to do this. I'm like, I want to break out the PS3. And I often go, oh, what about PlayStation Now? And I'm like, yeah, but the latency. You know what I mean? No matter what, you're streaming a game, and like, I'm sure it's gotten better or whatever, blah, blah. I played it when they launched it, and it was just like that thing of like, okay, well, no, it's not. It's not precise, and that's the kind of shit I can't deal with. Like when you sit down to play a game and you know something's wrong with the input on the TV, where there's that little bit of latency, and that kills it for me, where I'm just can't do it. And so for them to be like, no, you download it, I'm like, well, yes, why? If you're not I don't mean it in a negative sense, like you're a cheap ass gamer or a penny pitching gamer, but if you're a gamer on a budget and you're like, yeah, I want to play other stuff and I want to play Mad Max and I want to play Halo and I want to play these 360 games, I have no idea why you wouldn't do this. Like this is, I think, head and shoulders a better program than PlayStation Now. And it's funny the journey PlayStation Now has been on of like, we always talk about it, on PS I Love You, or when we talk about the subject of just the fact that Colin and I were like, they bought Gaikai. Boom. Huge announcement. This is going to change everything, and they blah, blah, they don't have to worry about anything. And then they morphed in this PlayStation Now service that you don't hear anybody super excited about, that you don't see anybody really working with. And it's like, okay, well then it's really just an answer to backwards compatibility, which Microsoft came out at that E3 and was like, nope, here you go. We're making our games backwards compatible. You can play your 360 games on Xbox One. And it's like, oh, fuck. And it's like, well, it's PlayStation's answer to, and it's like, well, now we're putting Xbox One games on here too. Like, it's a cool program. It's and like when you and it's the Netflix of video games, which we've talked about with
so many times.
Why doesn't Nintendo do that with Virtual Console?
And that's the thing is like with the Virtual Console still kind of on the hush hush from Nintendo. It's like I wonder if there's a possibility of them going this route. I don't think they're going to end up doing it.
I don't think they will.
And I don't
either.
even necessarily think it makes sense for them to do it. We do know that their online service will include the free download
a free
or
game
whatever.
Or whatever yeah.
So that shit is super weird and whatever. But it's like that could work in an ecosystem like this Xbox Game Pass thing. Where it's like, so there is the possibility still of that being the case. This news to me, when I first heard it, I was a little confused by it and like didn't really understand who the target audience was.
Sure.
As I read more about it and try to figure out, I'm like, you're right. This is the type of thing of like, why wouldn't you do this if you are a average gamer?
For me, here's the thing about this:
$10 a month for access to all that shit is huge.
We always talk about how privileged we are and we get all these free games and literally anything's an email away we want. What this is to me is a far better version, but I'll never ever ever forget the first summer vacation where Blockbuster Video instituted their Game Pass, and I forgot. I think it was I paid $20 or maybe it was $10 a month or whatever, and I got unlimited game rentals, one out at a time.
Yep.
And I remember that the thing I did was like, okay, cool. It was PlayStation 2 times, right? That makes sense? What doesn't matter. But I think it was because I played Britney's Dance Beat. I remember that being one of the ones. But that was the thing of like what I did is I went in there and I was like, all right, cool. Every game, I'm going to play every game in Blockbuster. And I went to the game section and I grabbed that first A game.
Are you
and took it out and came, and that's how I played. It got when I'm into B's. There's Britney's Dance Beat. All right, cool. And it was like it would be like it was like a way to break up the monotony of like the job I had or whatever, and like it was summer break, and so I was playing other things I wanted to play. But you remember how summers used to be. Now there's games all the time, but there was a time where it was like there was like a fucking 6-month period where there was like nothing happening. Like you're waiting till fall and that's it. So it was like I had all this time and I wanted to play shit, so I just went through and played everything. And that's what this is too, and that's how I see it working, right? And the fact of like you are a gamer who can't afford to get every AAA game, can't afford to get everything. I'm sure you missed a lot of stuff in the 360 area. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, why wouldn't you go ahead and okay, cool, let's do this, $10 and just try it. And again, it's monthly, so you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think. And that's the thing with PlayStation Now, where it's like, okay, cool, like PlayStation Now is fine and it's whatever, it's there if you really need it, but the latency and then only PS3 and it's more expensive, and like, why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah.
Like Xbox, this is a really good service, it's a really cool thing. Now to your point about Nintendo and the virtual console, I'm with you that number one, I don't think it'll happen, and number two, I don't think it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Because what I talked about this in the previous show. We talked about this in the previous topic, where as somebody without the nostalgia for Nintendo, I still have never played. Oh Jesus! I've never beaten Super Mario 2 or 3. I'm sure the list goes on like that.
You never
know
beat
what I
3?
mean? No, because I missed them, right? So I've seen them and I've played them, but it's like if I'm actually gonna have this system with me, of course I'm gonna buy them and put them on there, and I'll fucking do it. You know what I mean? But that's the thing is, I'll buy them. I'm totally fine to give you the $5 for Super Mario 3. I know it's amazing. I know it's tried and true.
I mean, you are in the minority in that. There are many, 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 many people out there that have bought Mario 3 10 times.
And that's my point for why they don't need to do it, is the fact that I've never done it. I love this system. Sure, here's my money. And I think there are, in the same breath, there's people like you who are like, I bought it 1,000,000 times. This is my system that's with me all the time. I'll buy it again.
Exactly.
And I don't think you're going to be there like, oh, I've put in too much money already. It's almost a source of pride when you talk to people about how many versions of what they've bought.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that this Xbox Game Pass is going to be good for the industry overall if it works correctly, because we are moving towards this kind of choose what you want type of situation where it's like you are now going to play games. If people are going to buy this for $10 and play games that they would have never played otherwise. And I think that's important, because you talk to Nick, who watches all this shit on Netflix, about Amazon Prime Video, when you're watching shit you would have never watched otherwise. So that alone is cool, just the discovery aspect of it all.
100% you're right on that. And the fact that they're going to go out and discover and stuff. It's great on the level that this is what we always talk about, where, is competition good for everything? Competition's great for everything, right? Xbox is behind PlayStation. They need to figure out how to get in front of PlayStation. They're going to make these moves, which then puts pressure on PlayStation, on Nintendo to follow suit, to come up with an answer, to figure this out. And then on top of this is a question from either this show or PS I Love You, where somebody was like, I feel bad about renting games. And like, because I do GameFly and I do this and the developer doesn't get money. Like, okay, guess what, everybody? We are to the point that Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo can sit there and be like, all right, cool. No more GameFlies. No more local mom and pop shops. Not that that's a real thing. But like, we can do this on our own, cut the developers a better deal and do it all digitally and not have to worry about it. And it's also then getting what we always want, that digital future to happen, where now all of a sudden consumers want more digital stuff because they're consuming more digital stuff. They understand how digital works. They're putting more pressure on cable companies to make the internet better. We're doing that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of, I was reading an article today that was associating the Xbox Game Pass announcement with the GameStop stock dropping dramatically. And like, I think that's a little bit just coincidental. Sure. But I mean, who knows? Like, this is the type of just another hit on that nail in the coffin. Sure. For that type of, physical. I
didn't realize GameStop's stock drop. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I would, if I cared more, that'd be a stock I think I would pick up, because I bet they're looking at this in the same way of like, well, that's an interesting way to keep this going. You know what I mean? We'll try to sell used digital goods. Like, that doesn't work. But getting the GameStop app onto Nintendo, onto Xbox, onto PlayStation, that is the digital GameFly, and figuring that out, that's something there too.
That's huge. I mean, yeah, but like, it's great that it's Xbox doing it. There's an Xbox app that you can get on your Xbox to play these games.
Exactly.
I'm excited to see what it does for the industry. I'm excited to see at E3, and E3 is probably not the place Sony would talk about it. It would probably just be a blog post or its own separate thing. But what does this mean for PlayStation now? Will PlayStation get PS4 games as well? Yeah. Will they change their pricing structure? Because I think a big thing for going for Xbox Game Pass is $10 a month. There's no fucking around. There's no tiers and
nickel
this,
and
this,
diming.
and this. Yeah. I mean, we are getting to a point now where it's like, all right, cool. There's Xbox Live, there's Xbox Games Pass, and there's Xbox Games with Gold, and there's PlayStation Now, there's PlayStation View, PlayStation Plus. PlayStation. It's like, okay, there is a lot of stuff going on that gets confusing even for people in the know.
Right. Oh, that was the thing, right?
Today when we were talking about this topic, like, it's like, all right, cool. So let's talk about it from this perspective. And it's like, we need to brush up on PlayStation. Yeah,
you're like,
now.
what is happening? Like, I haven't thought about PlayStation Now in fucking forever. Let me go look.
You brought up a point earlier in this topic where you're like, that you don't hear anyone talking about PlayStation Now or whatever. I wonder if people are. Like, I wonder if we are not the audience.
Right.
I don't think anyone we surround ourselves with are the audience
Sure.
for people that would use
Sure.
PlayStation Now. I wonder if people are actually interested in it. I wonder if it is working for Sony. And it's one of those things that I don't think we'll ever know.
Yeah.
Because Sony doesn't release numbers like that.
Well, I mean, the thing with PlayStation Now that I thought was they're getting ready to do something. And it's evident by the fact, right, that they turned off Vita support, they turned off PS3 support, they turned off all these different support windows. So it's PC and it's PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
So you assume that they can optimize the infrastructure, they can make the store look pretty. It sounds like the move you make not right before, but maybe 6 months before, a few months, coming into E3, where you're like, okay, cool, we did all that to do this. PlayStation Now is better than ever, and here's what it is.
Yeah, man, it's going to be an interesting E3. I
Hell
can't
yeah.
wait till we start getting a little closer and we can start doing like prediction topics and
Sure.
things like that, because we're going into a year where we have a brand new piece of hardware that just launched with the Switch, and Nintendo fucking has to, at this point, make some power moves.
Sure.
In addition to that, we got PlayStation coming off Year of Dreams 1 and 2, where it's like, how are they going to top what they did last year? I think it's impossible. But fuck it, I'm asking for Year of Dreams 3.
Sure.
And then there's Xbox with Scorpio.
Right.
And who the fuck else knows what they have up their sleeve.
Yeah.
Like this is an E3 unlike any we've seen in years.
Yeah.
And I like that the last couple of years have always had some weird little thing about them that keeps it interesting.
Yeah.
Like, will they show the PlayStation 4 Pro? And it's like, no. And it's like, oh, Xbox showed theirs? Like,
Yeah.
no one expected that.
Yeah.
So it's cool to go into it now, and I wonder if we're going to get a lot more announcements like this, because for Xbox, them coming out 2 years ago with the backwards compatibility.
That's right, 2 years. It was our first time. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's what won them E3 in critics' eyes.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's going to be more announcements, and there is room for PlayStation to talk about PlayStation Now at their conference, and the new version of whatever it looks like and is. But yeah, it's an exciting time, and I do think that this is the type of news that I immediately write off because I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I don't care, whatever. But I think when I think deeper about how much it's going to affect the majority of people out there, I think this is going to be huge for Xbox, and it is going to shift the industry.
Will it be huge for Xbox is a huge question mark for me. I hope it shifts the industry, but it is that thing that PlayStation does have a stranglehold, right? They are so far ahead. And this isn't I feel like if the roles were reversed, I don't mean like placements. If PlayStation right now announced, we're doing away with PlayStation Now, instead this is PlayStation then, and it's that you download the games and you have $10 to get all these games, right? I feel like the place would go insane because, and this is never a knock, I don't mean like a knock, I feel like the PlayStation gamer is the gamer we think of. The gamer who is, I want to know the lineage of everything. I want to have a breadth of knowledge about everything. They're the best friends, you know what I mean? Whereas I think, this is something we were talking about, Colin and I recently, that Xbox lost its way this generation because it banked on the people who loved Gears and loved Halo and loved sports and Call of Duty. And I'm not, because obviously I enjoy some of those games, a more juvenile audience, they thought would be here too. And I do think in a way the audience grew up, and like when PlayStation came out, it was like games. This is what we're talking about. You're gamers, we're all gamers. Maybe it just peeled away at the time, some of the mainstream. I think Xbox lost their step there. So I think backwards compatibility is awesome, and it won it in the eyes of the critics, right? I don't know how much that mattered to everybody.
It seems like it matters a lot. And again, this is all very just small little
Nobody's got
bubbles
numbers,
we're in.
yeah.
But I mean, I'm on the Kind of Funny Facebook group every day, and I see what people are talking about. And the backwards compatibility on Xbox seems like a big deal.
That's good. That's good knowledge that I haven't heard about. And that's the thing is like, that's awesome. And I want that to matter. And I love this program. I want this to matter. Xbox is doing some awesome stuff. I want them to continue to be awesome.
I think that it's also great timing with Scorpio, because I even though Xbox is losing now, they have a chance at not losing. And I think that it is moves like this that are going to put them in a better position.
That's actually a great point that I didn't fucking think about at all. This matters so much with Scorpio.
Because when it comes out, immediately here's a library.
You didn't buy an Xbox One, no big deal. When you come here, 5.
Here's Gears Ultimate Edition.
That's a fucking
here's
great
all that
point
stuff.
that I didn't even think about. The fact of like, when they get to announce that, Scorpio comes with, for $10, 200 games.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be an interesting time.
Play Quantum Break, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Gaynor.
Yay!
You're joining us. You were joining us for the fourth topic of this amazing Kind of Funny Gamescast. We're recording out of order, just for people at home. If we're
Don't
active.
tell them. Don't spoil them.
They
The
need
first
to know.
topics, the first
They
three
need to
topics
know.
were good.
They were.
But we needed that Gaynor magic. We needed that to be sprinkled in
Yeah, you
here.
just blasted a little
Exactly.
bit of magic
Oh,
or
you
something?
blast me all the time with that Gaynor magic.
My God. So you're here for GDC.
I mean, I'm here for something. There's something
Yeah.
going on.
There's
Right?
something
That's what I'm here
going on.
for.
Yeah.
It's-
How's your time here?
It's
been
good.
going?
It's GDC week. Yeah, we're showing Tacoma at the conference. It's
We just did a
playable.
Let's Play.
Yeah.
When's that going? When's that live?
Well, we have to figure that out. You know, we're doing a bunch of GDC Let's Plays. We'll figure out when we want to put them all live.
There's
Okay.
a lot of game developers here right now, and a lot
for a
of things to
conference.
play.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just played it a little bit. A lot of people on the show floor checking it out. So
Yeah.
it's been really cool seeing people just like go hands on with it, see how they actually experience it. Yeah, it's great.
How's that experience been? Is anyone like, fuck this?
You
Sucks.
So you weren't watching the Let's Play we just did, is what you're
no,
saying.
No, I was not. Did you make the same joke?
No. It
I
just
said I'm done.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
just
I said
right.
I'm
Greg,
done.
Greg was just like, "Wow, I think this was a mistake."
Yeah.
But this
It's
game
dark.
did
It
not
gets
come
dark quick.
together.
Not
No,
enough ducks.
I think people have been liking it. It seems like it. Yeah. The cool thing is when you're here at GDC showing a game, you actually get to like talk, discuss it with the people who have played it. So there's been just some cool exchanges about like people's interpretations of it. So there's good conversations. It's been really awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Top level for the people at home that don't know what Tacoma is. What is Tacoma?
So Tacoma is our follow-up to Gone Home. It's a first-person story game, kind of in the vein of like Gone Home or like Firewatch. Takes place in the year 2088, and you've been sent to a space station that's been evacuated of its crew to retrieve the AI that ran the station and return it to its owners. So as you're exploring the station, you're finding these kind of digital recordings of what happened to the crew before you arrived and piecing together the story of what happened there. Yeah.
There you go.
PC and Xbox
good?
One.
Yeah.
It gets the Greg Miller
2017.
thumbs up.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I've been, obviously since Gone Home, I'm
Yeah.
on the Fulbright train, as they say.
Choo choo.
Exactly.
motherfucker.
I mean, we talk about the Fulbright train all the time.
Yeah, but this one looks great, and we were going through and listening to all the. It's what I love about your games. You know what I mean? Of going through, listening to these audio, figuring out the story, going with, and in the Let's Play we talk about it. The fact that the objective is just to get this AI and get out, but then it is, if you want to go through and explore what happened to these people and their personal relationships and what are they talking about at the pool table and what.
Yeah. I mean, our hope is that people it's kind of a very player driven experience.
Yeah.
You're just able to find out as much as you want from the environment, and we kind of give you the tools to do that.
Well, seeing as this is the fourth topic of the Kind of Funny Gamescast, each and every week we get together, we ask you to submit a question. I'm out of order recording this, so I'm
Yeah.
all out in my
Sure.
my rhythm.
Sure.
Greg. But this topic's brought to you by you. You can go to kindoffunny.com/gamescast topic and leave topics for us to discuss in the show, just like all these fine young people did right here.
Yeah, thank
Let's
you for
start
sending
with
in
this one.
questions. Yeah.
Dantona7 Mufuk says, what unique challenges have you guys faced with Tacoma, and how do they differ from the GOAT, Gone Home?
The goat. All caps goat. Thank you
All
very
caps
much.
goat.
Thank you for the goat. Momofuku 48.
Let's see. Dantona7 Mufuk.
Okay. Yeah, no.
Kevin, when it's a throwaway joke, I'm not going to grab him and pull him to the mic. Then let me do the show, Kev.
What unique challenges
Yes.
have you guys faced with Tacoma, and how do they differ from Gone Home?
Well, so Tacoma, it kind of builds on Gone Home as a foundation, right? So the biggest thing for us, I think, was differentiating what we were doing, not just by saying like, well, it's Gone Home, but in a different place. It's Gone Home, but with more stuff or whatever. But to say, what's the core of like what Gone Home was about, like on the higher level of like how you experience it, what your role is as the player, and how can we expand that in a way that makes it feel like it's a totally unique, experience that you're having. It doesn't just feel like you're playing Gone Home again. And
Space.
Yeah. And so like finding, I mean, space was we were like, what if we just put it in space?
Yeah. Like, can we just do Gone Home in space?
It wasn't quite enough there. Not, I mean, it was close. Right?
Almost.
Space
It was
is-
almost,
right.
yeah.
But we needed that little extra. And
Steve
so,
Gaynor magic.
and so for us, yeah, the whole the AR figures kind of surrounding you and you being able to move through the timeline and move around the space while these scenes are going on, it kind of speaks to what Gone Home is about, which is like piecing together all of these disparate elements of the narrative, but not in the same way that
Sure.
we did before, but in a way that like complements it. So like finding finding what our version of that was took a while. It was hard, but I don't know. I think we got to a place where it hits that balance.
Well, I liked at Day of the Devs this week. You did the presentation there, and it went flawlessly from the very beginning. Don't believe anything you're in the internet.
It was beautiful.
What I liked about it was
fluttering.
you asked who was a dev in the audience, and can I just be devy about this rather than explain the game and demo the game, talk about the things. And one of the things, like you're talking about challenges you faced, I thought it was so fascinating that I never would have thought of what's in the Let's Play. We should probably put the Let's Play up next Wednesday. That way, there people have reference for this on Thursday.
Sure, yeah.
You go into the Tacoma Dome where they're having that conversation. She flips
Tacoma
around,
Dome.
and then they glide out because it's 0G. And you were talking about the fact that since the whole thing was moving, and you can stop it as a player and rewind and do whatever, you had to link their movements to the door no matter what, rather than just come down and go on a normal path.
Yeah, I mean, the technical challenges are the other side of it, because like we as a studio haven't done characters before, and these are sort of these abstracted characters, like, I mean, on screen. Like,
I know exactly what you mean, but it just sounds funny. Like, we made games with no characters. Beautiful worlds for you to do nothing in.
House and some crap, I don't know. But we haven't like put characters on screen before, and so the how and why and saying like, yeah, okay, so we want you to be able to move past these figures while they're doing their thing, but then you're like, but part of the environment actually moves, and how do we make all of that stuff work? And it's been like, I mean, it's the kind of cool development questions that you have to answer that you don't see coming. And you're like, okay, so we can do it this way, and that works, great, but it's not something that you kind of come to it as a solved problem, which is, makes it fun.
Of course, yeah. I'm sure it's great when you're slamming your head against your desk.
It's not fun until it is fun.
Yeah. Pablo Lopez has a good question. With Tacoma, what emotions would you like your audience to experience? And how are you going to exceed the bar that Gone Home has set?
Well,
and don't fuck this up. All eyes on you.
I mean, I think the biggest thing for us is, I think that part of the gambit of trying to change Tacoma fairly significantly in form from Gone Home was to kind of get out of that mindset of being like, okay, well, we got to do that again, but better, or we got to like take what we did and like one up it, right? So I think that what people connected with in Gone Home was like the very one-to-one specific personal connection with like this one character that the main story was all about. And for us, the challenge was to say, okay, we've done that. We kind of know how to make this like single story thread about this person, and we wanted to say, can we make a game that's about understanding this entire crew as a community, like as a group, as a small kind of almost like a family unit that's been thrown together, and have the focus be on the dynamics between them. And so I hope that in the same way you get to know these characters and think of them as like people that you could know in your real life and care about what happens to them. But also, I don't think it's on our checklist to be like, and how do we make people cry twice as hard? But I think that, when you have a game like this, you give people access to all the evidence of people's kind of personal lives, and you flesh that out, that hopefully it's natural to like make a connection with them.
Well, what I found fascinating just from the demo we did, or the Let's Play we did, is the fact that, like I made a joke in the beginning of like how the Odin, the AI is a creeper because it's monitoring and recording everything you're doing in there. And I was like, that's so weird, blah, blah, like, what are they going to go to the bathroom? Haha. And then sure enough, like we're watching a conversation, you start digging into because what happens is, right, if they look at their PDA or whatever it is, their heads up display, then you can go in and you can look at the files they're looking at,
right,
and bring up like we brought up this like text message conversation one of the girls was having, and she had said in there, I don't even care if they're looking at me in the bathroom. Go ahead, freaks. And it's like to answer the logical questions in those interesting ways. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is just like saying, if I was here, what's the stuff that would be on my mind? Because that's the stuff that the players are going to be wondering.
Yeah, exactly.
Jake James Lugo wants to know, would you ever consider doing a sequel to Gone Home, or something very similar to it?
I guess for me, I think that like just the fact that we kind of moved away from Gone Home's like very specific structure for Tacoma is because I felt like we as developers couldn't kind of just go back to that and say like, well, it's that, but it's different places, different story, different stuff you're finding. But I do think that there's a lot of potential still there. I mean, I feel like Gone Home is an interesting just like way of telling a story, and we wanted to kind of find a different way so that it was our next kind of step there. But I think that, so I guess what I'm saying is, I think there could be a really cool kind of like direct sequel type of feel of game from Gone Home, but that we're also not the ones to do it. You know what I mean?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But that said, I mean, we did something that was in a very kind of like mundane, relatable setting, and now we're pushing ourselves away from that. And I could totally see a world in which, we come back to something that's kind of closer to, an everyday experience with a later game.
Go home.
Yeah, I could. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Gone Home again.
But yeah, no, I don't think that like a direct sequel that continues the story or whatever is in the cards for us.
This time, Mrs. Greenbrier comes back and no one's home.
And then she's like, "Oh right, they went to the grocery store."
There we go. So Rain City Gamers has a question that is very relevant to you since last time on, I think it was Gamescast, we talked extensively about VR and what you thought about
right.
it. Want to see if there's any update here. Any chance we'll see Tacoma or Gone Home supporting PSVR after the success of Resident Evil 7?
For me, I think that honestly, Resident Evil 7 I found kind of like encouraging because obviously, from its starting point, traditional first-person game.
Sure.
But then I was really, I was like, oh, wow, to see how positive people were about the VR version. They were like, oh, yeah, this is a great way to play this game.
Yeah.
Which I don't feel like we've seen very many, like, full first-person games that people feel that way about in VR. There's so many, technical challenges and requirements to do that. So for me, it's always been like, we only want to do a version of the game if it's actually going to be a great version and not like a shoehorned version or whatever. So just seeing how the design knowledge and technique has evolved over the last few years does kind of make me feel a little bit more like, well, maybe sometime, down the road, maybe we should give that another, see if there's something there. Because you think it could be interesting. Like there's something cool about like the kind of tangibility of being, like
there
in the space, right? I don't think so. The thing for me is I don't think it like defines the experience. Like I think that it's not like it's not like gimmicky, but it also I don't think is like the thing that makes Gone Home or Tacoma powerful is that you're like you can like look around the thing or whatever. But like that said, if there's a great way to do it and it's like a cool new way to experience it, like. We'll see. Maybe we'll when we have kind of more time in front of us. Maybe
just admit you're flip flopping. You hated VR,
I'm
and then
a hater.
You saw PSVR sells nearly 1 million units in only a few months. There you go. Now here you are, changing your tune.
Yeah, I gotta
Gaynor.
I gotta get those sweet VR dollars.
Keep it on RE7. Bradley Engler says, how excited does Steve get when he sees well done ideas in other games like RE7 and its use of lighting?
I mean, like, I think that's like as a developer. When you play games, the two reasons that you play them are just like because you're a fan. You're like, oh, this is a cool game. I like to play it. I just want to play it. And then the other side of it is to like see what they've done and how they did it, and be like, wow, okay, I haven't seen that in a game before, or the way that they pulled that off is like really elegant, or like you see something and you're like examining it to be like, wait, so how does it work? Oh, and like
try to figure out how they got from point A to point B.
Right, like how they put that on the screen, and so best of both worlds is when you've just like gotten a game because you're a fan and you're excited for it, and then you notice like with the RE7 you're like this detail, or like, wow, okay, these guys figured something out, like they put something cool on screen and I can see how it was executed, and that's the kind of stuff that I think is really inspiring to see as a developer. Just like other people doing great work is really cool. Yeah.
Daniel Van Sire wants to know, how did the Steve Gaynor cool joke in Hitman come about? What is this, by the way?
Can I give you guys some lore?
I want to hear the lore.
So I stream games sometimes on Twitch, just like stuff that I'm playing. I'll put it up on my Twitch channel.
The channel.
It's just twitch.tv/Steve Gaynor.
There you go.
And so I jump on there if I'm playing something new. Sometimes if it's something that feels like it would be cool to play with a we have a kind of a stream crew, folks that show up a lot of times when I'm streaming. So I was streaming the Hitman episodes that came out last year. I'm a huge fan of the Hitman games. I've been playing Hitman games since the very first one, like 15 years ago or whatever. God, I think it was like the year 2000, like 17 years ago now. Yeah. And so I was streaming them, playing them, having a good time with them. And something I really loved is all the side dialogue. Like, the people that you just kind of walk past and you hear them talking about ordering ice cream, or like that their dog is sick, or there's the guy that's trying to put his like IKEA furniture together. It's just all these like weird side things, and I was really enthusiastic about like the writing of these side dialogue is amazing. This is amazing. I was like, whoever wrote this, I love you. And somebody that was watching the stream new people on the team, and he sent it along, and he emailed them, and like they emailed me, or like, hey, we watched your streams, thanks so much for being a fan. And then lo and behold, in the final episode of the season, there are these two guys in the gym in the hotel, and if you come to listen to them, they're just like talking about working out, and this other guy that's amazing at push-ups. His name's Steve Gaynor. He's cool. Everybody says he's like Steve Gaynor cool. And I had no idea it was coming.
That's awesome.
And
Awesome.
and I just saw the video and I was like, what is happening? And so now Steve Gaynor cool is canon in the Hitman universe.
That's awesome. I love that.
I enjoyed the GDC this week, all the GDC badges. You had the little flags.
Which
that
is
are
a
like,
totally different weird piece of lore.
Right.
That's
the
happening.
badges, you know how you put the flags on them, and sometimes they would say like first time or whatever, blah. There's ones that say Steve Gaynor now. Like they put out this year Steve Gaynor flags that other people are wearing that say Steve Gaynor on it.
Which is a totally different weird like inside baseball.
Yeah.
Well,
That is
thing.
Steve Gaynor cool though.
I find
And
it hard to
this
deny.
one stems from the time everybody was like, I am Steve Gaynor.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
it's basically Rami Ismail from Blambeer.
Never heard of him.
Turned
Sounds like
me
a jerk.
into a freaking meme at some point, and
Here we are.
now here we are with a bunch of ribbons that say my name on it, and it's a very strange GDC for me, friends. Not bad, not complaining. Little weird.
Nico Fuslang wants to know, what was your game of the year last year?
Oh.
I mean, even though I just talked a lot about how I'm literally in Hitman and I love that game, I played The Last Guardian at the very end of 2016, and I thought it was really, really incredible, really amazing. Like in terms of all the stuff that team has done with Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, the world they've created, and the feel of like this kind of melancholy, other fantastical world. But then as far as the question about when you see what other game developers are doing, just the technical execution of Trico moving around the environment, and you're climbing on him while he's climbing on the world, and like the sheer achievement of like what that thing being something that exists in a game was like incredible. Because like when you've made games, especially, you know, when I worked on the BioShock series, you know, there's the AIs interact, like that stuff is always like hard and janky, and you have to get it perfect. And then knowing how hard it was for them to make that game, and then it was in the service of this like beautiful kind of feeling of being about the friendship between these two characters, it blew me away. But I love that game.
And then in the future.
In Hitman.
Lucid Dream wants to know, what's your most anticipated upcoming game?
Tacoma.
Coming to
You just want it done.
I am super looking forward to Pyre from Supergiant.
Yeah.
I love the guys at Supergiant.
Hell yeah.
Bastion and Transistor are amazing, and I've played the Pyre demo. Pyre demo is also at GDC, and it's just so beautiful. I love what they're doing with the multiple layers of like the character choices and the RPG kind of story, and then the crazy, almost like fantasy basketball kind of like combat. It's an amazing game so far, just from what I've played. So I'm really looking forward to that a lot.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
And a final question that I'm sure you've never heard before, especially from no one at this table. Tony DeSerino wants to know, will Tacoma have a platinum?
Okay, so here's
There's a lot of problems with this question.
Yeah, okay,
my friend.
but the beautiful thing about that question specifically, a platinum what, Tony? Maybe it will have a platinum.
Oh man,
Let's see what it'll be.
Could this possibly be a Greg Miller cool moment? Will there be a platinum trophy in Tacoma
That you pick up and it's like, this doesn't matter. We don't want this. And you throw it away. And you see all the AR with the machines, people just grabbing it, throwing it away. Like, we don't want any of these platinum trophies.
to be continued?
Anyway, Steve,
You can go patch Gone Home and put some platinum trophies up in that bitch.
thank you very much.
Thank you
for joining us.
Thank you
Tacoma. When's
Yeah.
it coming?
Tacoma later in 2017. We're aiming for the middle of the year. PC, Xbox, and thank you guys again for having me on. It's
No, it's
been
a
a lot of
pleasure. We
fun.
love
And thank
you.
you everybody for sending in questions. Great
And
questions.
where can they find you?
Oh, I'm at Fulbright on Twitter, and you can go to Tacoma.game, find out more about Tacoma. We have a gameplay video up there, and a lot
You
of
don't need
stuff
to watch the
check out.
gameplay video. We
Could
have
you
a let's
not
play.
get
Watch the let's play.
Tacoma.com?
No. But I have
sense.
but I have
Tacoma.game.
but I have the best URL, which is the ultimate URL. It's not the one I go to because it's harder
Sure.
to say, but we have ta.co.ma, which is like when there's like a .co.uk address.
yeah.
This is a business address for Morocco. So it's ta.co.ma. Go to ta.co.ma and find out more about Tacoma coming later this year.
Good. Well, thank you for joining us, and
Absolutely.
thank you for watching. We will see you next week. Until then, I love you. Hope you enjoyed that Kind of Funny Gamescast. If you did, you can make sure you subscribe here to Kind of Funny Games. And if you want content that's not games related, you can go here, subscribe to Kind of Funny. And if you want to support us and help us make cooler stuff, Patreon, it's right there, doing cool stuff. I love you. See you guys next week.